All right, something to know. The Rams don't pay for safeties. It hurts the corners, and the Chargers offseason keeps getting better because Tyreek Hill just got traded to the Chiefs. I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, and it is March 23rd, 2022. And just as we were prepared to go on and talk more Ram football, talk about all the stuff taking place, news breaks about the Chiefs trading Tyreek Hill to Miami. I'm looking at what the numbers are right now, and the numbers right now are saying Hill to Miami for a first, a second, and a fourth this year, a fourth and a sixth in 2023. And it's an interesting trade because it can go both ways. You know, he's in the last year of a contract. He's going to break the bank. In his own division now, Davante Adams has come and got a nice deal with the Raiders, and so Tyreek's going to want more. And then you're thinking with the Chiefs, how much do we want to pay him in terms of run? You know, Mahomes' contract cap hit is escalating. You're still paying Kelsey. You're being forced right now to let Tyrann Mathieu walk. So it's interesting as a Chief fan what you're thinking because everyone around you is getting better. In a league loaded with more and more receivers and more receivers coming in the draft and the best athletes either playing quarterback or receiver, it's a thinking move by the Chiefs. It really is. You know, they're thinking forward, but it's precarious in a division like the AFC West where Justin Herbert, Derek Carr, and now Russell Wilson are coming. Edge rushers have been signed, linemen, running, quarterbacks have been moved, receivers have been brought in, and so you're seeing just a lot of things happening in the AFC West, and now one of Patrick Mahomes' biggest weapons is leaving to Miami. Now, no doubt, Tyreek Hill is one of the biggest weapons, but that weapon doesn't fire without Patrick Mahomes, right? And so I view the Chiefs as a today team, not a tomorrow team, meaning because Kelsey's getting older, because Hill's contract was going to expire after next year, I viewed that they were going to win now, that they wanted to operate in that winning now. But then again, when you look back at it, their quarterback is young. And as long as Mahomes remains flexible contractually, the window will remain open. He needs to look at the league right now and see what Tom Brady's been able to do, what Stafford just did with his contract, and ask himself, do I want to win? Do I want parts around me? Or do I want to go Matt Ryan in Atlanta and wasted 5 years of my career, some prime years, by gobbling up all the contract? I mean, how bad was Matt Ryan's contract in Atlanta? 19% of Atlanta's salary cap this year is going to go to dead money for signing Matt Ryan. So you got to figure that out. And then you got to see Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers signed that deal. Apparently, everyone's sharing right now across the boards that he was aware they weren't going to keep Davante Adams. What are you doing? I mean, what are you thinking if you're going to gobble up that much? And so Mahomes has to start thinking, you know what? Okay, we can move Tyreek Hill. We can bring somebody else in. Parts are all interchangeable pretty much in the NFL, with the exception of quarterback. And so yeah, it's a weird move in the AFC West. As a Chief fan who's thinking about 2022, yeah, I'm a little nervous. As a Chief fan thinking for the long run, okay, this might be a bump in the road, and all the hype. There's all the hype around Denver, right? And that doesn't mean it's going to pan out, because there's actually some people in some corners that think Russell Wilson's just a little less than what he used to be. Justin Herbert's going to his third year. He still hasn't been to the playoffs, and he hasn't won a playoff game, right? And he hasn't won, yeah. And so you got that going on. And then Derek Carr, he plays for the Raiders, which guaranteed at some point there's going to be some new turmoil. And I'm a conspiracy crowd guy. I think even if the Raiders keep their nose clean, some black ops guys working in the NFL are going to dig out of 650,000 emails, dig out one disparaging remark that Derek Carr made or Josh McDaniels made at midseason, because I don't know. I view the Raiders as almost like the UNLV of the 1980s and 70s, where where they're so angry about other things, they put Tarkanian on probation. And I think the NFL needs to look good on so many things, including a guy with 22 sexual civil suits against him. He signs the biggest contract for a quarterback ever, guaranteed, and no problem. But they're going to find that one thing that a Raider guy said 30 years ago and create a national focus. And of course, the KBM media, Kiss Butt media, will jump all over it because they got to have a scalp, right? So you look at this year, the Chiefs could still win this division because that's what's at play. It's really hard to trust the Chargers. I'm not buying completely into the Russell Wilson is the new Messiah in Denver, and the Raiders are the Raiders. So maybe they make the move now. They save themselves a ton of money, grab some picks, reload in this year and next year's draft with some receivers. And the key to it all, it's Pat Mahomes, right? Patrick Mahomes makes the difference here. So it'll be interesting. But let's get to some Ram talk. As I prepared, was busy yesterday. I wrote a fan view. I didn't get to do a Ram view yesterday, but as I was writing RamView, I go, oh, cool. I'm going to talk about the safeties. I've talked about the corners. I've talked about different things. And then, of course, the Tyreek Hill news broke. But the important thing to know about the Rams when it comes to their safeties is the Rams don't pay for their safeties. They just don't. I'll go through a list here of safeties they've moved out or allowed to walk because they just didn't want to cough up the bread for them. And I felt like safety was an issue last year. I felt like a few times you're watching that game, you're wondering where was the help for David Long? Where was the help for D. Will? Where was the help for Jalen Ramsey on a couple? You shouldn't have to ask for much help with Jalen Ramsey, I know. But over the top, because Taylor Rapp is absolutely lost in coverage all the time. And so there were some real scorchings there where the Rams safety group just wasn't what it should have been. And so it deserves time to look at the Rams secondary. Right now, there's 4 safeties on the roster: Jordan Fuller, Terrell Burgess, Taylor Rapp, and Nick Scott. Taylor Rapp and Nick Scott were both drafted in 2019. This is the last year of their rookie contracts. Burgess and Fuller were drafted in 2020. They still have 2 years left, 22 and 23. So it makes sense the Rams would be looking at a safety. Fuller is the clear-cut lead safety for the Rams. He ranked 19th overall out of 92 in the NFL. Remember, the Rams won a Super Bowl with this bunch. They did bring in Eric Weddle, but you wonder if Fuller wouldn't have been hurt, they probably wouldn't have brought in Eric Weddle. So, but overall, Fuller was averaged 19 out of 92 safeties graded by PFF. Taylor Rapp was 45 out of 92. But out of 92 safeties, he graded 65 in coverage. And regular season, Nick Scott wasn't much better at 64. He graded 74 out of 92 safeties. But, of course, his playing time was unique, and he didn't play a whole lot until Fuller went down. And then Rapp was out, of course. But those are the Rams safeties. It's not it's not Atkinson and Tatum. It's just not. It's just not that group. It's not Cromwell and Elmendorf, right? It's just not these guys. And so the Rams won a Super Bowl, and that tells you why the position is not overly valued. In 10 drafts that Les Snead is masked as set over, you might give him a little flexibility on 2012 because he got there late. And some of those early drafts, probably, building his own philosophy, learning his job, and as well as building a scouting department, there might have been some misses. But the Rams have drafted 8 safeties in 10 drafts, and they converted one guy to a safety. And I'll mention that in a minute. T.J. McDonald with the third pick, 71 overall in 2013 out of USC. He was drafted by the Rams. 4th round, 110th overall in 2014 was Maurice Alexander. You might remember that name, out of Utah State. 7th round, 241, C.B. Bryant out of Ohio State in 2014. John Johnson, 3rd round, 91st overall out of Boston College in 2017. Taylor Rapp in 2019. Nick Scott in 2019. Terrell Burgess and Jordan Fuller. You'll notice when you look at McDonald played 4 years with the Rams, 3 in St. Louis, 1 here in LA, and he wasn't given that second contract, no second contract. Everyone loved John Johnson. I love John Johnson. I wanted, hey, well, sign JJ, sign JJ. He played 4 years for the Rams and didn't get the second contract. Maurice Alexander was a name that's kind of lost to history a little bit. He didn't play much in his first year, but his next 2 years, years 2 and 3, he was a starter at strong safety for the Rams and a big guy kind of. And for about 3.5 years, he was with the Rams, no second contract, and was cut mid-season of 2018. And so the Rams got clicks out of him in 2017. The Rams got clicks out of him, but they weren't going to give him a second contract. And then the other interesting one is LaMarcus Joyner. Joyner was drafted, I think, 2014, 2015 by the Rams, and actually 2013. He went 4 years with the Rams, and then he was converted to safety in 2017, and he started every game in 2017. And then he got franchise tagged in 2018. The Rams felt there were no other options in the room, and they franchise tagged LaMarcus Joyner in 2018, the Super Bowl season, where he made 11 rocks that year. That is an outrageous price for the Rams to pay a safety. And they franchise tagged him. He played, and then he went to the Raiders. And then I think he wound up in Buffalo, and he wound up every place else. Where we let McDonald walk, didn't hurt us. We let Johnson walk, and we went to a Super Bowl. We let Maurice Allens go, and no one's heard from him again. LaMarcus Joyner got a contract with the Raiders, and he's bounced around now. I think he was with the Jets also. It just hasn't panned out. So the Rams have made really judicious and wise decisions on a position that they're not going to pay. And so one of the things you want to keep an eye on in the draft is that with, half that secondary in their last year of a contract, expect the Rams to go after a safety. A couple of the names that have been appearing on the draft boards for the Rams, there were 4. Actually, initially, there were 4 names popping up for the Rams in terms of looking at a safety in the draft. None of them were looked at above the 6th round. Oregon's Vernon McKinley, the 3rd, Leon O'Neal Jr. at Texas A&M, Miami, Ohio safety Sterling Weatherford. And then the other one was a hybrid combo safety guy out of Ohio State named Seven Banks, but he pulled out of the draft. So the only 3 names that I've seen popping up on the Rams board are McKinley, O'Neal, and Weatherford. And the one that's really popping a little bit because he had a pretty good combine, Leon O'Neal, very athletic, strong, and he's popping up number 12 on some of the draft boards, the 12th best safety in the draft, that's what the Rams are looking at because they don't have a pick too high, and so there's O'Neal, and then Vernon McKinley is rated as the 10th best draft prospect at the safety position, and then Miami, Ohio Sterling Weatherford, who has a big build. He would be a strong safety type, and he really almost fits that Taven Howard mode. It was a safety converted to linebacker and might be an off-ball linebacker type. So it'd be worth keeping an eye on Sterling Weatherford. The interesting thing here is O'Neal was the one that played in the Senior Bowl, and so you want to keep an eye on that aspect in terms of who appears on Rams draft boards, who's when they're the scouting gurus, the experts, the Bucky Brooks, the Daniel Jeremiahs, the draft techs, the draft gurus, all these guys. When these names appear, that gives you an idea of where to start from if you're not inside the building. And then you take it over, well, who was at the Senior Bowl because of the Rams' penchant for drafting Senior Bowl players, and then go to the Combine and see how these guys did at the Combine. But the Rams aren't going to pay for safeties. So enjoy your Taylor Rapp, enjoy your Nick Scott, unless they have some kind of massive breakthrough year or there's some injuries or something that requires the Rams to keep them for an extra year. I just don't see it happening. Fuller played 1,000 snaps last year, Rapp 1,000 snaps. Nick Scott played 655, and we know Nick Scott's play elevated in the postseason. Maybe that was Eric Weddle's presence around him. The guy that's really interesting here that a lot of us, people smarter than me, seem to like is Terrell Burgess. And Terrell Burgess, I honestly thought he was going to get PT last year. I thought he was ahead of Nick Scott on the depth chart, but Burgess was little more than a special teams guy. He only had 143 defensive snaps last year, and that's troublesome because when you are a 3rd round pick which is what Nick Scott was. Not Nick Scott, I'm sorry, Terrell Burgess was in 2020. That's a high premium pick. And if he was not to make an impact this year or in 2022 or 2023, that would be viewed as a miss. Greg Gaines came in. He was here in 19, 20, and then in 21, he broke through, and that proves that fourth round pick was not a miss. Same thing for Joseph Sebastian Jay. Some of these guys who are drafted just a premium pick for the Rams is third, fourth, and fifth round. 6 and 7s, they're gravy. If you could hit on them, great. The Rams have hit on a lot of 6 and 7s, right? But when you get to third, fourth, and fifth, that's important. And that's why Robert Rochelle has to hit. That's why Ernest Jones has to hit. That's why when you look at the third round, who the Rams take in the third round in 2018, they took a guy named, or 2017, they took a guy named Cooper Kupp, right? So you need to hit on those. And if Terrell Burgess doesn't break through, that'll be a miss. Another guy that was a high premium pick for the Rams is Bobby Evans on the offensive line. And sooner or later, you're looking at these guys, and if they're not getting playing time in their third and fourth year, that they were a miss. And that's why Bryson Hopkins was interesting in the Super Bowl, because he was a premium pick for the Rams, and he never really showed anything on the field until the Super Bowl, and that caused you to rethink what you might have thought about Bryson Hopkins, because he did produce and he proved to be something special. So those are some of the names to keep an eye on. Again, I don't want to keep you long. I want to keep it tight. I want to keep it under 20 minutes here, and we're heading to the 17-minute mark. I'm Joe Terosian. I'm a sports writer, also pastor. I've written several books. You can follow me at joeterosian.com, also on Twitter, and I'm on Instagram at JoeT13B. You can catch me there. And of course, subscribe and like and leave comments here. I love talking Ram football. I don't talk much about how I'm feeling. I don't talk much about what I had for dinner. I don't talk much. And if I ever do a podcast or a web show, and I'm talking about the 10 best football movies of all time, and that's all the content I give you, then cut me loose, because I think if you're going to click on for 15 to 20 minutes, you ought to get some content. You ought to hear some names, and not necessarily names that I'm 100% perfect on, but names that give you a reference point to begin with, especially if you're a smart Rams fan, and you want to be a smart Rams fan, because if you're a smart Rams fan, if you're investing a little bit in studying what they're doing, you're going to appreciate what's taking place with them so much more, on how they're finding value, how they've been to 2 Super Bowls without a first-round pick since 2016. You can't hear that kind of stuff enough. It's an amazing thing. And it's nuanced and it's detailed. And if you put a little time in, you're going to enjoy the second and third day of the draft. You're going to enjoy those names, and you're going to say, "Ooh, I saw this guy. I know this guy. I read the bio on this guy. He's not just some out of the blue dude that's being drafted, but it's somebody that you know." And you have to know this because Nick Scott was, I think, 249, 247. And he's the one that made the hit of the year on Deebo Samuel in the playoffs, right? Ben Skoranek, who, caused the interception in the Super Bowl, but Ben Skoranek was one of the key blockers for that team last year after all the tight ends and everybody went down. The Rams got clicks out of these guys. You want to know who they are. And so that's, again, why I strive a little more for content and just giving you names, giving you dates, giving you years, giving you reference points of what they've done in the past, because hopefully it helps. And it is a great experience. And the best part of this is that we are in a golden age for Ram football, unlike anything, maybe since they came to LA originally in the 40s and 50s, and they had some of those title games, 3 title appearances, 1 title. But this is a golden age, and we need to enjoy it for all it's worth. So you'll be able better to spot a bum or a clunker when you get down the road, when it's in the post-Snead era, the post-McVay era. And of course, the landscape changes, and what's valued is not valued, and such in the future. But at least you'll know, and you'll have an understanding. You don't have to. You could fret about your team, or you realize you don't have to fret about your team. All right, cool. 19-minute mark, 20-minute mark. I'm Joe Terosian, and of course, you've seen my books, Tangent Dreams and Everything Sin Virus. This is my book called Dead Bug Tales. I wrote this a few years ago. Mentioned Christian Camp going to meatballs. There we go. And this one's about bullying, and it's called The Dark Norm. and it was written a couple years ago. And you can find all these books on Amazon. I am a pastor of a small church. I was a sports writer for 20 years, and I supplement my income these days by writing books. I'm not a Patreon guy, and so if you can give those books a look, give them a click, give them a buy, give them a review, it would be great. Okay, 20 minutes. We are out of here. We will be back tomorrow. I will not be doing a show on Friday. I will be on the road, and but we will see you tomorrow on RamView. Take care. God bless. Have a great day.